Order at 3:03, and Councilwoman Hargis, would you give us the lesson, please?
So I'll stand, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, for the beautiful weather that you have blessed us with. We just ask you, Lord, to guide and direct our decisions and our thoughts as we go through these meetings. We ask you to protect our soldiers who are in harm's way. And we just thank you for your many blessings. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
No problem, Michelle.
Sir. David Walkingston. Don Garvin. Bill England.
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard. Joe Byrd.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield.
Honey.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell. Denise Taylor. Here. David Thornton. Victoria Vasquez.
Honey.
Brian Warner.
Honey.
We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from February 20th.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Down to reports, we got Miss Diane Kelly from Talking Leaves Job Corps.
Leroy said he was going to come up here with me when I left. He's going to go with me. I told him, I said, come on. Of course, you have your report. We're trying to do our report a little different because you all seem to like some of the highlights of some of the participants that we're working with. Sometimes they're from different areas. I just have to brag on Job Corps. We have a new regional director. He's from Chicago, and every week he talks about, well, the Chicago area. Well, we're in the Dallas region. We go all the way up to the Canadian border. We are the largest region. We're ranked number 54 in the nation out of 124 Job Corps centers, and that is fantastic for Talking Leaves. We're number 1 in Oklahoma, and according to Mona, their math and reading scores are right up there at the top in the nation. So that tells you we've got some good reading and math teachers over at Talking Leaves. And then we are considered a top performing center in the Dallas region. And every week I listen to the conference calls every Wednesday, and he will say, last week there was like maybe 4 or 5 he asked to call him back afterwards. Then he'll say, maybe some of them, you need to talk to me after the conference call. And so I'm writing down all the centers. And I said, Jay, you've skated by again another week. He said, I'm good, Dinah. I'm trying to tell you I'm good. And last week I said, you wasn't so good today, were you? He said, all he told me was we needed more inventory. And he said, we can do that, no problem. Yeah. He said, but at least we're full. There was only, I think, 3 or 4 centers in the region that was full. And we were one of them. So anyway, they have something to brag about. So if you see Jay or Mona, pat them on the back because they are really working hard over there. They got some good staff. We just completed our 9th graduating class of local Union Hall 584, which is our welding program in Tulsa. Now, we said it's our 10th class. It's our 12th because we had 2 that was here in a trailer, and then we moved up to the Union Hall. So our 11th class is going on, and it's the largest class. There's 16 participants in it, and they're all sector partnership, Brenda's program, every one of them. So that's a feather in our hat with Department of Labor. They're excited about it. We're also working with the Pipe Fitter Union Hall 798, and they'll be taking referrals, and it's not going to cost us anything to send them. And we're working with them and their Indian liaison, Bobby Gonzalez. So we're going to be working with them here in the next few months. Brenda wanted me to mention that the KNAR, which is our vocational rehabilitation program, they're having their mid-year conference, which will be at the Hard Rock. There will be 88 tribes from the United States there. It'll be June the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th. If you're interested in learning more about vocational rehabilitation, it'll be at our Hard Rock. I want to say kudos to Charity Holmes. I don't know if you know Charity or not. She works in our voc rehab program. She came to us through the business tech. Then she was a participant on our program, and then she was hired in the voc rehab program. She's been working on her college education, and she's had a really rough life. You should listen to Charity's story one of these days, but she was sharing some stuff with me. She applied for a scholarship through Brown University, and guess what? She got it.
Wow.
It's a full ride.
Cool.
And she is a young lady. She's originally from Locust Grove. She's some of the Standing Waters. That was her maiden name. And Charity's going to be leaving sometime around July for Brown University. So we're real happy for her. We have an education summit coming up April the 5th through the NORA conference. It's from 10 to 1. It'll be at the Expo Center at Pryor Mid-America Industrial Park. Joy Hoffmeister, our State Superintendent of Schools, will be one of the keynote speakers. Also, the Director of the Career Tech will be speaking, and Chuck Hoskin Jr., our Secretary of State, will also be one of the speakers at that event. So it's from 10 to noon. They will serve lunch. If you're interested, it's at the Expo Center on April the 5th.
Okay, thank you.
And we've been working in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office to host Carl Albert University, Ron Etheridge, the Health Department, Connie, all of us kind of rolled out the red carpet for Carl Albert, and it'll open new doors and opportunities for us, and we're looking forward to working with Carl Albert. I want to thank Councilman Warner for bringing the group up here.
We appreciate you.
And we have a safety fair coming up on April the 7th from noon to 3 o'clock. And I know that some of y'all are going to the Intertribal Council. Intertribal is usually over with by noon, and it's in Tulsa. You can just drive on down the highway and come back here and come to our safety fair, which is going to be on the other side of the Marshall's building. And last year, I believe the speaker kind of helped kick that off, and we're hoping that you'll be available to do that again. Brian Hale in the Health Department is working with us on this, and so is Shannon Buell and Marshall Services. We hope to have a better turnout, more people. We're having it on a Friday afternoon, so we know that some of the schools are coming as well. So encourage you to come if you can. And Smokey the Bear will be there. Oh, we have proclamation signing on the safety fair this Wednesday at 10:30, and Smokey the Bear is going to be there for that. And then we also have a proclamation signing for Professional Assistance Day, which is coming up at Talking Leaves Job Corps the last Wednesday in April. And our speakers for that event are Councilwoman Frankie Hargis and Councilwoman Victoria Vasquez. Wow. So we're very honored to have you ladies come. Wanda, you'll get it next year. We have to get all these women to come. One of these days we'll ask the men. Anything else? Y'all have any questions? I'm sorry.
The Smokey the Bear, is that going to be Jimmy Woodward?
You know, Jimmy was by this morning and we could have recruited him. I'll
Yeah.
have to remember that the next time he shows up.
No, Diane, you do a good job with all the programs. Hey, we had a
I got
question
good
that might
directors.
pertain to you about the graduation group. Did we ever nail down where that department was?
From the VOTEC, they've got so much graduating and they get the cords.
The VOTEC. What? I'm not sure
They have
what.
to buy their own cords or
Those
something.
honor cords,
Yeah, they're on a cord.
those come through education department.
Yeah, the honor cords come through higher ed.
I wish we'd borrow some money from you.
No,
there
you
was-
need to hit Ron Etheridge up for
Well, there
that.
was a question, Mr. Etheridge, that there was so many that could not afford it. Have we done that before?
Not for VOTEC. The red stoles that we currently give out are for the undergraduate and graduate students on the scholarship program.
Yeah, I think we might be talking about two different things there, because what you're talking about, I know what that is. This is vocational, wasn't
I've never heard
Yeah.
of them getting any.
it?
Okay.
All right.
You just have, I don't know, what vocational program is it?
They asked him, I don't know. I'm just trying to
If
help
you can
out.
give me specifics, I can find out.
I'll find out.
Okay, and just let me know.
Thank you.
Hey,
Diane?
anything else?
Yes.
I just want to say I'd like to
Councilman
talk to you before you get away,
Okay,
after this.
I'll be here.
Thank you.
Leroy said he was going out the door if I left, so I'll have to stay till he gets through.
Thank you, Diane. Next, our executive director's report is Ron Etheridge and Ms. Jennifer Pigeon.
Belongs to Sean. So you guys don't need to take it from him over there. He come in my office while we all left that, so. Good afternoon.
Hello.
We have, 3 or 4 things that probably need to share with you, and then any questions that you might have for us, we'll be happy to answer. First off, hopefully, I got to looking at this just a second ago, and it just hit the email. I think you all are aware of it. If you're not, then you don't have anyone to blame but me, and I apologize. But on the robotics end of things, we have, I think, about 6 schools that are going to the national meet. And if you don't have it, I'm going to make sure you get it before we get through, because the picture taking will be start Thursday at 10:30 in the morning at Tahlequah, 10:30 and 11. They had 3 teams qualify. I think one high school and then a couple in the elementary that qualified. We're paying this year their entry fee. Westville will be the next stop at noon, and then Bellefonte and Bell, and it's actually, I think, Bell, both teams qualified were from Bell. And then we'll be going to Roland and then Muskogee, with Muskogee had 2. So anyway, some of our smaller schools qualified in those areas. So and that's on the national level. So we got the program started, and we've talked about it, and we all felt like that, hey, if they qualify to go to that point, that's the ultimate, then we need to help them, and so that's what we're doing. So anyway, word has got to you guys on that, right? Correct? Okay, good deal. The Trail of Tears Award of Excellence, just got figures on that. I hadn't even had a chance to share that with Jennifer, but 282 total. And it's split right down the middle almost. 8th graders, we had 140 that are receiving awards, and 12th grade, 142. When this just happens once a year, I had to get Lisa to rehearse me on kind of what's required, and the main thing is a 3.5 GPA. And then the other areas, and of course, this is your award. This is the Tribal Council Award, and the other areas can be from the arts, the fine arts, sports, your civic groups and organizations and so forth. But anyway, that's our numbers on that. And if you have any questions for me, I'll write them down and get back with you, because that's pretty well what I know regarding that. And I'm sure you'll get a better report a little bit later. Friday, Public School Appreciation Day, and I think you got information on that. We surpassed that $5 million mark. That's just outstanding. I mean, you think about it, and I know it's dispersed based on numbers, but 107 schools are going to have a smile on their face come Friday. That's a good day. I just got to be a part of that one time last year, and I'm going to get I enjoyed it. And of course, admin partakes in as far as speaking, and so does council. Anyway, that's a good day, and so hopefully you'll come and be a part of that. Jennifer also provided these numbers for me as well. We have 30,170 within the 14 county area. That's not counting outside, Cherokees. And that's important, because I'm going to give you a figure here in just a second when I talk about another subject matter that, it tells you that's big numbers. That's big numbers. The last thing I want to talk about, Councilman Walkenstick, said that a couple meetings ago that we needed to be represented in D.C. in that ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act meeting, and I hadn't taken a trip to that point in time, and so I felt like, hey, maybe I need to go, and I'm glad I did. It was worth my while. I ended up hearing from our state superintendent in D.C. We could have met, Henrietta, but anyway, she was one of them, okay, but she wasn't by herself. I mean, there was many more. And we're getting ready to have another meeting. And I think I couldn't quite hear back there. I believe Diane mentioned part of it. But on the right prior to the tribal council meeting, on the 5th of April, the Creeks are going to host a meeting from 1 to 5, and that meeting's going to deal with this Every Student Succeeds Act. That's the reason for the meeting. Okay, and we're going to talk about that and try to get basically our ducks in a row, is what it amounts to, and it's for the upcoming year. And the federal government's basically telling us that they want the tribes to be a part, and be a major part of kind of overseeing, not dictating as to how they spend it, making sure that the funds that are given to these districts are spent in a manner that's appropriate, is basically what it amounts to. And for us to do something such as this, where there's only, a couple of us in the position to go out to these meetings, okay, it's going to have to take place maybe after the fact, and that's some of the things that we're going to be discussing when we meet on the 5th. But the advice that we're going to give these school districts is you better pick you out a good committee, one that's willing to work with you, and then once the meeting is done, and they determine how that they're going to spend the money based on the ramifications set up by the federal government to a degree. I mean, they're going to give us they're going to give us the money, but they're going to kind of tell us a little bit on how to spend it, because it's got to be spent on Indian children, is what it amounts to. And so anyway, and then we'll meet with them afterwards, hopefully countywide, when the superintendents come and meet, and they bring their Indian ed directors and so forth, and we sit down and we discuss it at that point in time on what's being done. And so that's my interpretation to this point, but it's not completed. Also that day, we're going to visit about Johnson O'Malley funding. We're going to visit about Impact Aid, 874 money. So all of these things are very important when it comes to education and Indian students. And so all those things will be visited upon that day. So questions for me regarding any of those areas, and then we'll get to Jennifer.
Yes, Councilwoman Vasquez.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. I'm hoping when we discuss the JOM, it'll be about enhancing the funding so that we can maybe add another school or so that can't afford to be a part of JOM. Is that going to be part of the discussion?
Yes, yeah, we'll be, it is. It's part of the agenda there, JOM. And, we have like 4 districts that their JOM is conducted outside the school system. Mm-hmm. And, now, it makes it difficult sometimes, when that is. Because when you have it inside, I'm not saying that they're not to do it that way, okay? Because by rights they can do it how they choose to do it. But we will be able to kind of factor in as to what how they're spending the funds, so to speak. Go ahead. Who else?
Thank you.
Councilman Buzzer.
Yes, this, what you were talking about, is that where they're talking about there's got to be consultation with these schools? But is it schools that are 50+% Indian?
Right. Well, it's both. It's those.
Okay, so it is both.
Well, what it is if they're over 40,000 in Indian ed money.
Okay.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Walkenstick. That okay? And we have 45 schools that fit that category. Actually, more than that, because we have some that fit both. Okay, we have some that are 50% or more, and get the 40,000 as well. Okay, so anyway, we have a total of 60 within our 14 county area that pertains to.
Who will have oversight of this money once it goes into the school system? Will the Cherokee Nation be any overseer?
Well, no, we just, well, I think it's my understanding based on what I've heard to this point, and of course, hopefully, it'll be summed up on this April 5th meeting that we have, that we're just to be a part of the collaboration and you know, we have a voice. You know, if we feel like that maybe it's not being spent the way it ought to be spent, then we're to speak up.
And you brought up a point a while ago over there in J. I know that JOM system is out of the school system. I'd like to see it back into the school system. I've talked to the board on numerous occasions, but can't seem to convince them that probably the best place to be in the school system. So if you could talk or have any influence with that board, I would appreciate it, because what they're telling me is they go and meet with the superintendent, and the superintendent more or less tells that board, we're gonna have oversight. We're gonna control the dollars. And I said, well, that's not the way it should happen, because your board, you're gonna tell him how you want the money spent. I can't get him convinced, so I need some help there.
Okay.
The other thing that you didn't mention, and I've just followed this in the papers and on the news, is the Native American kids throughout Oklahoma, where they scored the highest on math and reading.
Right.
Are you aware? I'm sure you're aware of that.
Right, and thank you for mentioning that, and it should have been mentioned,
And I don't think it surprised me, but I think that's some good news that we're seeing out of our Indian kids in the public school system.
Most definitely,
Are doing more than the national average. The other question I had is, do you know the amount that we give per student on JOM? Do we know what we give?
I believe we're down to 40 per student.
How much does that equal per kid, I wonder?
Well, depends on how many kids are in the school. It's $40 per student.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get at. And let me ask you this, Jennifer, you can probably answer this. Did you put any tribal dollars into the JOM program?
Not for direct services to students, but we do have like the cultural competitions, the
Okay,
art competitions,
so we
a
do,
little bit.
in a roundabout way, help that. I guess that also falls under the language bowl.
Yes, all of that is kind of the tribal
So
funds.
Okay, well, that was asked the question of how much we do, and I didn't know.
No, your Title VI, and I visited with Mitch McGehee there in Tulsa, and he said, hey, they're more than thankful for what we do for Tulsa County regarding the MVT, more than thankful for what the Creeks do for Tulsa County for JOM, but he said without the Title VI money, he said they'd be broke. I mean, he said it's a substantial difference.
Sure
it's like $182 a student.
Okay, I think you've answered my questions. Thank you. Thanks, Jeff.
Councilwoman Hatfield?
Do you have a comprehensive list of all the Indian ed directors in the state?
Do we have a copy of?
Or do you have
Probably not in the state, for our area.
For
We
your
would have
area,
for our
you do.
JOM contacts.
Okay.
Now, we can help you find that out if you're wanting to know outside the
Right.
area. Yeah,
Because
because,
I just, working with the schools, I find, I mean, basically, if you call the school district, you can find out, but I was just wondering if there was a list out there of all of the directors in Oklahoma.
like Jennifer just said, we have that information
Have that information.
as far as we are concerned here, but not outside,
Okay.
But we can find that out for you if you need someone to specifically, or if you need us to possibly help you with areas that belong to, what you serve.
Do you ever get any calls from at-large Indian ed directors, like in Oklahoma?
We do, where we coordinate with the Oklahoma JOM conference.
Okay.
Then they've got contacts at the other tribes that they work with. So I don't think it'd be a hard list to get. It would just be, contacting them and asking them to
Okay.
share with us.
That would be good. It would just be, it'd be easy just if you just go to a list, because instead of trying to call, different schools. And what, my question is, especially around the Tulsa area, there's so many schools that are, and they're so close to, Cherokee Nation. We have, out west, in Oklahoma City area, there are a lot of schools that have the directors, but the Tulsa, so close to Cherokee Nation. but anyway, I was just wondering.
Yeah, I'll see what we can find for you.
Okay, I thank you very much.
Let me give you some figures here too that and I should have brought this up a while ago because they made me aware of that, the scores, and I didn't have that information here to give you. But anyway, there's 3,570 Native American teachers throughout the state of Oklahoma. There's 170 administrators that are Native American here in the state of Oklahoma. We have 130,000 Native American students, and of that 130,000, within the 14-county area, we have over 30,000, almost 31,000 that are Cherokee in the 14-county area. Of course, we know there's 39 tribes. So you serve a big area, highly populated area. So that's another reason why those JOM dollars are not quite up with what maybe the Creek are able to get, and they don't have as many. Any other questions or comments?
Ron, back to the, Councilman Buzzard, so Jay has turned their JOM program over to the Cherokee Nation. So my question is what's the process for purchase orders and expenditures? Like, how does that happen?
The parent committee is outside of the school, so it's a community-based program, and basically they hold their meetings, they come to us, tell us what they want to do, and we process internally contracts, POs, requisitions, and do all that ordering for them.
Is there an IDC that's attached with that?
I do not think so, because of the contract size. It's not subject to IDC.
It would be good, Councilman, if you guys could work with those parents in that district to see if they can work with each other and have the Cherokee Nation turn it back over, because it's costing us money and time by having to process those purchase orders, and it's probably an inconvenience. It'd be better if the school district was to handle those dollars.
I agree.
But when you're dealing with parents and their babies are going to school there, it's a sensitive subject. So,
Yeah, I've tried and tried, I just can't get it done.
yes, Speaker Burke.
Hey, doesn't Mark Vance, and isn't he our liaison?
Mark Vance, yes.
Well, that might be a person you might start with, Counselor Buzzard.
And he did,
We'll get word to him,
Good report.
yeah.
Hey,
Mark did send a note, like, Jay will be coming back to the public school. I have a meeting with the new superintendent, Kenny.
Okay.
The message from Mark. And
I'm
then
hoping things may change then.
the other thing says April 10th and 11th, the Oklahoma JOM conference at Hard Rock. So if you guys have questions about that, let me know and we can get you the packets.
April 10th and 11th. And
Yeah.
Ron, you guys are having your superintendent's meeting.
Those toss meetings,
Uh-huh.
yes, and you should have that information. I
Yes,
mean,
sir. Yeah, we got it on our calendars.
Okay,
Did
okay.
everyone get that on your calendar? So if you guys are in the area, go visit your superintendents.
Yeah, we've already told Brian we're gonna give him the floor down there.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah. And then the concurrent enrollment,
Yes.
you guys are gonna brief us on some suggestions next month, or?
Yes. We should be ready by then. We're kind of looking at current rates and the payments that we've had in the past. Some of them we're paying a little more for a concurrent student than we are for our undergrad students. So we want to bring that to you and kind of give you some ideas, or let you give us some ideas, and kind of going forward.
Councilman Warner, Carl Albert, what's the cost for a kid to do concurrent enrollment?
As far as,
If a kid's coming from Southsall and they're going to Carl Albert to do concurrent enrollment, Jennifer, do you know what the cost
it
is?
just depends on how many hours, of course. If they come in at 6 hours or 9 hours, typically most of them will take 6.
Yeah.
By the time the state fees kick in, if they don't have any Native American money, you're looking at about $600. $400 to $600, something like that. Now that's fees. That's not books.
$300
Yeah.
for fees.
Right. You know, I mean, you know, and I may be a little off, but I was looking at one the other day that a lady had contacted me, and it was about $489, and I want to say it's about 6 hours.
Wow.
What was left over, you know, so it's a major concurrent enrollment through the Cherokee Nation. It's a major help
Yeah.
for what they do, because here's the deal. I don't know if anybody's bought any books lately.
Yeah.
You know, my chemistry book alone, when I first started, about 165, and it's just over 8 years, it's at like 265 right now. Now, of course, that's buying it at the bookstore, but you know, you go online, they're still expensive. You know, now they've got the rentals and the e-books, but a lot of people, they like it right here. You know, they don't want it on the technology side of it. So
How often do those books turn over?
pretty often. You know, yeah, I mean, it's a lucrative business, or you wouldn't have so many people stopping by to buy them.
That every 3
Even
years.
the ebooks can be $100.
You know, I mean,
So,
exactly.
you
Then
know,
you're at
and
the mercy of technology.
Yeah.
You know, so and what you'll see a lot of times too is nowadays with the instruction, it depends on the instructor, but they may have an e-packet that you've got to get with the class, plus you need the book, because a lot of it, you know, is, you know, your online classes and stuff, that's a lot of self-taught and different things. So there's a ton of expenses out there. And of course, like any school, you know, it depends on where you go and how far that dollar is going to stretch, you know, so.
Well, we're going to have to be thinking about a policy, and I guess you're going to bring us a few options, option A, B, and C. Okay. That'd be helpful.
We'll try to get it to you before the meeting, so you've got a time to kind of look
Good
through that and
Okay.
maybe come up with some other ideas to help us out.
Sounds good. Oh, good report. You guys have a good, all right, thank you. Next, we got our Cherokee Nation Head Start, Miss Verna Thompson.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Happy first day of spring.
Yes.
Yeah, I have spring fever. Any questions on my report? I'd like to say that we are recruiting pretty heavily for the next school year. And recruiting staff for Wauhilla. If you know anybody for a teacher assistant position, send them our way. That should be advertised next week. And I think here in Tahlequah.
Where is Wauhilla? No, I'm just
All right, any questions for Verna? Saying none, good report, Verna.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank you.
enjoy your spring day.
I will.
We got fever, but it's not spring.
Next, we got a Superintendent of Sequoia Schools, Mr. Leroy Qualls.
Good afternoon, everyone. Very interesting topics that you guys just discussed. And looking at Jay, you guys have what you call a community-based Johnson O'Malley program. Tahlequah had one when I became Indian Ed Director up there. It took almost a year to get it back into the school system. And I thought it would take an act of Congress or be impossible to do. But after speaking to someone in Washington, D.C., the process is the committee votes it back in. That's the process. But it took a year for me to convince them. I went from a second grade kid that could not read, that was a discipline problem. We found out he couldn't see. Got his eyes checked. That turned out good. Had a third grader that had a pencil checked out by a teacher that got into trouble. The mom contacted me. I went to see what was going on. The teacher gave them as loans, and when the bell rung, he's excited to go to recess, and he forgot to turn it back in. So there's a little piece, and there's little stories, and it took many of those stories to convince our parent committee to vote it back into the system. But the thing that broke my leg over it was that our committee rented a place downtown to put all their school supplies. A majority of the kids didn't know where to pick up supplies. That's why the third grader, didn't have a pencil. Make a long story short, they did a fantastic job of storing all the supplies. There was no room in the building, and they paid $600, I think, a month just to store the supplies. Then my comeback was, the reason you've done a great job, but the reason you've got so many supplies is kids don't have any. That's the sad piece. So they eventually voted it back in to the school. And then at open house the night before school started, we gave out supplies at the school sites. And when the kids came in to pick up their schedules, bingo, we got 85% of them or so. At that time, 67% of Tahlequah's population was Native American. Now that's dwindled and passed, and at that time, the per student expenditure was $70 per student. And I hear now it's 40. So it kind of shows you how the trend has gone over the years. I'm sorry, but I had to jump out there and give some information that I know about and experience that I've had. And yes, it can be put back in the school system. Maybe your director will have some good stories for the parent committee. And the other thing is, with the oversight being with Cherokee Nation, I wouldn't want that job, but I guess someone will have to do it. And it may have to look at setting it up like the Johnson O'Malley with the parent committee and the Title VI with the parent committee to approve line items. The Johnson O'Malley comes to Cherokee Nation anyway to be subjected for approval or not, each line item. And, you know, it may be something like that, but I don't look forward to doing that from the school side or the tribe side. It'll be a sensitive thing. Good news is the Lady Indians are the state 3A class, 3A state champions.
Awesome.
The girls came back with the trophy. Beat Comanche in the finals, 67-40. State MVP was a freshman, Lexi Keys.
Wow.
And we had 4 girls altogether. Cena Hayes was first team all-tournament, and second team all-tournament was Kimber Tyon and Marissa Smith. So we were very well represented there. And one comment I made in the dressing room, and I'm going to say it to you also, is that our players, they're as good at kids off the floor or better than they are on it, if that tells you anything. Our boys made the state semifinals, had a good year, beat Valiant in the first round, great ball game, lost to Star Spencer. And, you know, that's not a disgrace because there's 62 other teams that want to be there where our boys are walking in those shoes. So they had a great year. 2 kids, Tyus Dartery and Elin Eagle, made the second team, state tournament all-team. Girls celebration, they're having one Wednesday at 5:30, just a final get-together before, and they've already started. The girls are playing softball today against Warner. The boys are playing baseball somewhere today away. I've got the calendar here. It's hard to keep up with. Our kids are very active. Also, they're very academic, had a good GPA, both boys and girls. Baseball, that stumps me. They're at Oaktahaw today. The girls are playing Warner at home. Tomorrow, softball's at Wilburton. Wednesday evening's church evening at 6, kind of looking at the calendar here. And then volleyball is starting off season Thursday. So it's a busy time. And speaking of our softball team, they're off to a 5-0 start already. And basketball just ended. So our kids and our coaches are very busy. Academically, Seif Drywater did win first place in that DAR contest, and he won a $500 scholarship.
Thank you for sending that to me.
We're completely tickled to death. You know, he's a good kid, obviously very talented also. Speaking of academics, our juniors, I think about 92 of them tomorrow will take the ACT test, and that's what the state offers, free. And this is the first time that Sequoia's been included under that umbrella.
That's good.
Because we've had to pay for our own kids' ACTs, and you know, with Joy Hoffmeister and some help there, testing our juniors, I think is going to go a long way in education. Just some tidbits here. We had 6 robotic teams make the state. We had 6 teams make the nationals. The Indian Ed list that you talked about, you might be able to get hold of Dwight Pickering in the State Department of Ed, Indian Education Office, to get that list. And this is the third year in a row that Sequoia's had a state champion, a team that's won a state championship. So we didn't think about that until just yesterday. Been fortunate that our kids have had a lot of success. And we are a tribal grant school, which means you guys are our bosses and our supporters, and it's your school, so it's, you know, if you get a chance to meet the kids in front of the council, I think you'll be very pleased with who you see in front of you. But that's my report, and unless you have a question. I gave you a kind of a supplemental report today. You got my other report a couple of weeks ago.
Any questions for Mr. Qualls? We thankful that a person of your caliber is in your position at Sequoia to advocate for kids, and your passion for the school exemplifies by where you're at with the student body, and seeing that state was encouraging, and we appreciate you being at Sequoia.
You know, it's a blessing for me to be there, and I thank you all.
Yeah. Well, keep the good work.
Appreciate it.
Old business, there's none pending. New business announcements, the next meeting is set for April the 10th at 3 o'clock. And Speaker Byrd likes to make the announcement.
Hey, Mr. Ron Etheridge, we appreciate you and all the support. You were up there at Oklahoma City as well. And you know, our hats go off to some of our local teams. We got Cherokees at Adair, got Cherokees at Fort Gibson. They won 2 silver balls, you know, boys and girls. And okay, so, and we work with those kids. They've got, you know, we got JOM kids there. So give our hats off to those schools. We'll see most of the administrators Friday. So appreciate everything you've done, Ron.
Yes.
Don't forget about Tahlequah. Cherokees there.
Yes. Tahlequah High School went to the state playoffs and won the first round. Actually, the coach is Mr. Qualls' son. They hadn't been to state in a long time. They didn't even know where Oklahoma City or Tulsa was. So congratulations to Mr. David Qualls and his team.
Councilman Warner?
Yes. Diane, thank you for loaning me your boys for donkey basketball. I appreciated it.
At least they came back to work the next day.
They did. Chris, he probably took it to roughing, you know what I mean? But he was all out, so I appreciate it. They had a great time. I appreciate it.
Hey, Diane, also thank you for loaning us your donkeys too for the game. We appreciate that. All right, and so you hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, any discussion, all those in favor, signify with aye.